Hi there. It's Martin.
Hi.
And it's Nick. And today we're going to talk about a property on 53 Woodbridge Road. So let's get into it. And what I'm going to do is share my screen. We can then start to work away. Start with the real estate pictures and just kind of work my way back. The very first thing off the bat is that roof looks like a clay tile roof. It looks quite old, but it looks like it's okay. We'll need to have a look at some other details here. And obviously they've tarted this property up massively, laid some, maybe that's fresh concrete, I'm not sure, but it's nice and empty and fresh carpets throughout. It all looks very nice. They've got the coving in there. We're going to open the virtual tour in a minute. The downlighters, the laminate flooring, all looks very nice. The issue with this house is not so much is it in good condition, it seems to be, but it's more just, is this in the right place and is it worth it? And that's a big question. So we're going to get into the history of this house, and it seems like they've done a pretty comprehensive job of this.
Yep.
Bit of economy action here on that on this bathroom set, but okay. And that roof is a little bit lacking. I think the roof will be okay. Those clay tiles are good to work with. But one of the downers with this house is that, of course, you can see next door they've got a loft conversion in there, and on this one they don't. So let's just have a closer look at what's going on. And 33, 53, is that really 53?
Yeah, it should be.
It's an odd numbering convention.
I can show you on the map where exactly it is because I found it. Mm. So can I share my screen?
Yeah, yes, please.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So this is the property. Yeah, so here is the property, and you can see here in 2016 it was missing, then they changed this. As you can see that it's like a new. And yes, you can see this is the extension.
Can you zoom into the roof? Let's have a look at the roof.
This 2016.
Yeah, you can see a few clay tiles missing. Clay tiles are basically okay, but the issue with this house is that at some point in the next 20 years, it's going to need a new roof. Probably.
Yeah, you can see this.
And the reason you would say that is because the house next door has had a new roof. And if you look over to the right on the other stretch of houses, they've had a load of new roofs. You can see there.
This new build.
Yes, but if you look at the houses adjacent there, so that's a new roof on that. But the ones at the edge don't have the new roof. So, okay, interesting.
I just want to show some, where is the look? Come on. Where is the, so basically the property is based here. This is the property. Yep, when I check on the map view, what I found, I wanted to check if there is a, how I know, because when you click, it gives you the right address. So there it is. Okay.
Okay. So and how much of this is local authority?
You have some local authority, like 1, 2. So from this,
probably about 30–40%. I would have thought.
Maybe lower. I think. Yeah, 20–30%. I think they are. Yeah. 20,
that's interesting. So what we're the question is how much has been sold off, and that determines how desirable it is actually. So it's quite an interesting one. And where's our house? It's here, isn't it, on this side? Not this one?
No, can you unzoom?
Doesn't
Can you
really
go
matter.
on the right side? More right. No, on you scroll on the other side. Oh yes, it's
Right.
lagging a little bit. So maybe I can send you a link.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not that important. What's important, I guess, is just looking at this thing overall. So, okay. The eaves look okay, and the brickwork is it's okay. It looks okay. It's got these concrete lintels, which is a good thing, and it's obviously had quite a lot of renovation at the back because this wouldn't have been an original build, so they've readjusted this. I think it's quite nicely done. This is all new, obviously a new add-on, this thing here. And this lintel, I assume that this is original here. So, okay. So we've got that. Now let's have a look at the inside of the property. I don't want to dwell upon this too much because, well, a couple of reasons. One is that this system really kills my computer. It's incredibly heavy. I don't know why, but it's kind of processor heavy. But okay, it all looks fine. The thing that's a bit weird about this property is the floor plan. So let's just quickly look at that. We have lots and lots of pictures of this property. So I'm going to close this tab because it's just killing my machine. This is 16 gigs of RAM, by the way. It's a Ryzen processor, so it's pretty snappy, but just those 3D walkthroughs really just do it in. Yeah, it's an interesting setup with all of this exterior stuff going on here, but I think the layout's quite good. I just think for modern living, you wouldn't have done the layout quite like that. You would have had the kitchen more kind of connected with the dining room. But anyway, fine. And then obviously we have the bedrooms, and all the bedrooms seem to be usable, which is good. Let's have a look at the other stuff. So we've got this viewer feedback on the property, and I'm going to zoom in. I think that's the easiest thing to do. Otherwise, what happens is I'm trying to download the pictures, but they're just not downloading very, very easily. But at least we can have a quick look through here. Condition is not really the question with this property, by the way, as you may gather. It's all brand new. The roof. Okay, so this is a classic. They made it look nice, but they forgot some fundamentals. And this is like the old story where that boiler, it's going to go. So what they did was they assumed that owner occupiers don't know what they're looking at, which is often the case. And so they skipped on meaningful things like a new roof and a new boiler, because that's a 20-year-old boiler. So, and relatively old gas meter, fine, whatever. And through we go.
But the EPC
this is kind of well, that's good.
I think for rental is good.
Kind of economy on the basin here. This drainer board, very economy, and also they've kind of got economy with the fireplace. Fine. That looks okay. So, is it a combi boiler? I suppose it is. I'm not sure. I think it's just probably an old combi boiler. Also, the balustrades are not building regs compliant, which is a bit annoying. So this bathroom suite, it's okay. They've got this mixer here, but they don't have a matching thing here. Fair enough. So it's like just little corners being cut, big corner being cut here, for example. So this unit is from the 70s. So the problem with this is that you're running a big risk. So here's the risk. The way they've done this is they have not touched the electrics because they know that if they put in a new circuit board or new fuse board, RCD board, that there'll probably be problems. So if you have an old one like this, if you start tinkering around with the electrics and you add a new circuit or do something in the house, then you have to upgrade this. Now, we've got this exact issue with another property, but we know the property needs a load of work. The question is, does it need a new fuse board? Well, we think it does, but we know it does, but does it need new wiring? And what you're looking for is the grey 1 mil to twin and earth. So this is positive, negative, plus an exposed copper cable for earth. And if it's that, you got a chance. If it isn't, it's a problem. And I don't really know what is going on with that. But then on the counterpoint, you can see that the sockets are above the ground quite a way. So I think this property is probably, what do you reckon it would be? It looks 50s to me, 50s or 60s, and it had a big rewire or big renovation at some point.
It doesn't
thereafter.
have, we don't have data for exactly, but it should be between 50 and 66. Usually next doors have that year, and usually this kind of social houses were built then, and I think in 2000 they start selling.
So the big risk for me, or a big issue for me with this house, is that if they cut corners, and we know they have already, because we know the roof, we know the boiler, and now we know the fuse board. Oh, and also this, by the way, this is 1970s, classic. So building regs, you can't have a gap more than 100 mils. That's about the size of a baby's head. So if a baby's head can squeeze through there, guess where that baby's going to be tumbling. So they didn't pay any attention to this, and they should have done, and they should have just stuck an extra plank in there and made it, building regs compliant. I don't know what that is, just a room. So there's a few things I'm concerned about. And the big worry for me with this house is simply, if you've got an old consumer unit, you're going to have to upgrade that consumer unit at some point. And if that wiring can't handle a modern unit, then you're in trouble. So what happens with a modern unit is that the old wiring has a lot of resistance in it. It's earthing in various places. And so the thing just keeps tripping all the time. That's the usual issue. And therefore you then end up having to rewire. And the rule of thumb is, with building regs, you should rewire every 40 years or so. So this has technically reached the end of its life. And it's very easy for an electrician to come along, do the tests and see, is it or isn't it going? And my guess is it isn't, because if it was okay, they would have put a modern unit in there. But the catch is, they made it all nice and pretty. And if you have to rip out the wiring to rewire and do all of that again, well, you're going to tear the house apart and you're going to walk into a trap. So that's an issue. It's a bad issue, actually, just to say. All right, well, let's move on and talk about demographics and all that lovely stuff. So the crime is very low. It's very quiet around here, which is good. Bit of action here, but basically it's a super quiet area. So that's great. Martin was telling me that this is like very prime. And then you got this. So this being the worst area in the best place, as it were. And you can see the demographics. The higher the number, the better the demographics. And there's some really good demographics around here. It's all like big houses and big comfortable houses and so on. And then you have this corner here. And that's kind of okay. But I think we have to look very carefully at comparables with this, because the issue with any area is that the house that's best is the one that's the average of all the houses around it. In other words, if you have a really huge house in this, it's like a mansion, that's just never going to value up to what it could be worth if it was in a better location. Conversely, if you have a wreck of a house that's just inferior quality, well, people just don't want to live there because they'll be the neighbors, they'll be the poor neighbors. So generally speaking, the best is the average. In other words, if we were looking at a house in here and it was the same as the ones around it, fine. And so what we got here are inferior houses to here. And so actually we have this odd kind of micro ecosystem here. And already, if it was me, I wouldn't buy here, because the kind of people that would want to live here, I just don't think could. Of course, it'll rent and all of that sort of stuff, but I'm not feeling it for this. But no, let's look further and just see what else we see. Obviously, quite a lot of local authority. We know that. Now, on capital growth, it's quite interesting. It's not as buoyant as a lot of areas. So 12% real growth since 2018, up to September 21, which is the latest data we've got. And this area absolutely tanked in the last crash. So to give you context, an average area that's solid, so we were looking at Radcliffe, for example, which is further out, that crashed by, I think it was 6% from memory, very little. 10% is okay, but 18% nominal decline is really pretty heavy going. And let's just see what this area did in the crash. And this only crashed 8%. So I would argue that in this MSOA, which is basically this catchment here, actually, no, it's just this catchment, which is the back in the good patch. And the issue, I think, is that it's just a little bit out in the middle of nowhere. It's the kind of certainly this is the kind of ex-local authority property that, so this is just in the middle of nowhere. That's the issue there. And this one is ex-local authority. And I think what happened was in the last property cycle, this area grew, let's see, did it grow a whole lot? It didn't grow that much, actually. It didn't grow substantially, and it crashed heavily. So it's quite an odd patch. I don't love it at all. Anyway, let's zoom out a little bit. So the other issue here that I'm seeing is,
but if you see on the other area, yeah, but in other area 1 to add, where you have more capital growth, there are not ex-social houses, so that's why it's the reason, and also because their houses now are 500,000.
Yeah.
And so this is half price of that. So
yeah, but this area is quite a large portion of the stock is kind of well, it's more ex-local authority. It's a third ex-local authority, a third attractive housing in the middle of nowhere, and then a third the prime stuff.
Right now it's like 20% of social houses, but almost all of them are ex-social houses.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that people bought in this area thinking, great, it's close to all the rich people. They bought in this area in the last cycle, and it didn't work. That actually people with money thought, no, you know what, it's compromised here. I don't trust this. I don't want to buy here. And then the prices tanked. That's what I imagine happened here. I can't be sure, but that's my hypothesis.
This part of the area is the best part of Manchester.
Well, that's my point, that yes, this overall area is, but this is the bad part of a very good area. And what I'm saying is that when you look at the overall story with this place, say, for example, here, where you have median house prices, 300,000.
Yeah, but if you want to have more than 5% of yield, you must buy in this area, this part of the.
Well, indeed, and we'll look at the yield and work off that. But based on my correlation analysis, the issue with really good areas that are expensive is that affordability is poor and capital growth is relatively weak in many parts of the cycle, unless it's got really heavy money coming into it. And the real growth in Manchester is always the kind of the mid-price stuff, so the 130, 120,000. So look at this area here. It's this kind of 17, you know, median price, a bit lower than down here. It's one of those things. So what I'm saying is that this is not a capital growth hotspot, mainly because it's kind of topped out on values across the board for these higher priced properties. Then you have the question, is it a smart thing to buy the worst house in the best area? In my opinion, it's not. But Martin, you may have a different opinion to me on this. I just don't have faith in those kind of areas, because the social dynamic is that if you live in an area, and I know I live in an area where we got but our house is basically the little house compared to the big houses. So we live in a 220 square meter house, but the houses down the road are like 600 square meters. So I feel like, oh, I'm inferior. And so this is the point, that the average house is the best house, because then you feel, okay, I'm in a nice area, I'm, you know, my neighbors and stuff. It's just a sociological thing. I'm just saying, you probably don't buy into that, but.
I want to say that a lot of people want to move in this area. There's high demand in for these properties around.
What, for these local authority ones?
Everywhere. And
well,
I know that.
Yeah, we know it's busy and we know it's popular. M41, reasonable turnover, reasonable sales turnover. But I'm just, anyway, let's move on. So the thing is, it's all conjecture. Now we need to look at the location comparables and all of that, and then we can kind of get to
okay, it. So yeah, the year of build, it should be between 50 and 60. It's around 91 meters square, it's supposed to be. But in the EPC, say 81 meters square, which you see on the edge. So that's good. So EPC is good. It has 75 millimeters loft insulation, cavity walls, fillet cavity, full double glaze, good boiler, and so on. Everything's very good. Only the bad is
well, the boiler isn't that good, but yeah.
But I mean,
it's good from an EPC point of view, but it needs changing.
Yeah. So you need to, if you want to increase the loft, it will be around 300 pounds. And if you want to increase the heating controller, it's around 400 pounds. So yeah. And the boiler, so it's around 4,000 to increase but then the EPC will be C, and it will be around 75, I guess, which is really good.
Do you have pictures, just out of interest, before we finish totally on historic pictures of the property?
There is no historical.
Or is this?
No historical.
So it's the owner doing developer. Yeah, okay.
Yep. And I will. Yep, correct. So here is this. I think it doesn't have. Yeah, it doesn't have. I think it was social house he purchased and now he rebuilt.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he's developing and trying to make a turn on it.
Yeah. So the location. So basically, there is no coal mining risk because it's outside from the circle on the polygon with the risk. The property is here, so it's really like without risk. So and there is low risk of surface water, river, and the sea, and there is no reservoir risk. And when I see that's why I think is good, because you have a lot of new builds coming in, and also you have a supermarket new one who is built. So if the area was, they will not build a huge supermarket.
That's the point.
Yeah. So, and also these schools, if you can check on the map, I already checked, they are good schools.
What's it like for transport, like getting around public transport and stuff?
Yes, but I just want to, just a second. I want to take the full address. So basically they have a train here who go directly to Manchester. And if you want to go to Manchester, but now.
So it's 50. Yeah, we need to do it like tomorrow.
Yeah, and it needs to be
in the morning.
Yeah.
So if you do it Monday and
36 minutes.
Is it
If you,
36? Oh,
yeah, if you take here, but if you take here, it will be even faster.
So you have to get a bus down to the train station. And
Yes, yes, yes. And it's straightforward. And this area is really, and also, for example, in this here area, what I find is the price is almost 500,000, and I will show you the map soon. So when I go to comparables, the property is here. So this property is same type of property. It's sold 265, and it's sold. I will tell you now. It's supposed to be sold in March. We don't know how much it was sold, but it's sold. So, yep. And the condition are not the best.
So if you look at older transactions, what's the
275?
Right.
Okay, I want to check. Okay. I want to check more. 265. I want to see outside from the house. Yeah, same. No, this is not the one. Sorry, it should be not the same type of property. Not the same type of property. Not this two. Let me see other transaction here. Okay, 230 transaction in September, and it's terrace house. So
what I'm curious about is, do we have the asking price and the actual transaction price?
No, let me check. Local data accommodation view on portal, maybe here. I did. Sorry about this. Nope. Maybe in our system. Just if we
can we check? I'm just.
Yeah,
it's quite important.
Yeah, I will check right now. Sorry about it. Okay. Just want to see which one it is. Not this one. Removed. So this 235 asking, but I don't know when is. Yeah, 235, and the transaction was 1230, and it's sold lower than the asking price. Let's check other. Yeah, let's check this one. What we analyze. This was 260 asking, but
Sorry, watching this, but this is quite an important question. So what we're trying to gauge is whether these houses are overpriced or not.
No,
and just the character of the bidding.
Yeah, when I check the for sale, similar property, and if you go newest, wait, no, sorry, for sale, newest listed. So I will just zoom in. This is not the same type of house. This is not the same. So you can see like the not social house 100K lower, almost. And this is the same 275. 275. So this also social house. Wait, I found. I think the asking price is correct.
Okay, but the issue
Here is the same
condition risks. Yeah, I think the way you do it is you would make it offer subject to testing the electrical system. And it sounds
250 in February. Maybe they're asking.
Anything to ask the house apart, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think you can send offer 255.
Yeah, Okay, so the next thing is
Scoring.
rent.
Yeah, rent will be 1,100 to 1,200.
Yeah. Fine. All right. But there are issues with it, so I'm going to give it a 4 because if the roof was good, the boiler was new, the electrics were up to date, you'd give it a 4.3, 4.4. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm just nervous about the condition. Location?
Yeah, and also I always hate the fresh renovate property because sometimes they hide the issues with just painting them.
Yeah. We had a client who had exactly this issue, and not with us, I hasten to add.
Yeah.
With another buyer, with another sourcer, we sold a donkey. It had been recently renovated, and guess what? 2 months later, the whole property had to be redone with damp proofing because a huge amount of rising damp came through. So the lesson is freshly renovated can be a problem, but it's a new enough property such that the damp proofing should be fine. So I'm not too concerned about that, but it's just roof, boiler, electrics issue. Okay, location.
I think it's good, not the best. It's 4.
And area.
Globally, the area is 4.5, but this patch
but
now
this is the bad patch in the good
area.
area.
Yeah, so it's
area.
Because all the area is good. This is 3.5, and all the area is 4.5. So I think it's 4, middle.
Yeah, I agree. Crime, it's actually fine. It's very low. Demographics, reasonably good, but for the demographics and the price of the property, not so good. So I'm just going to tip back into this just to give you context on this again. So if you see the numbers here, 66, 70, there are lots of areas which have similar demographics where you're not paying £70,000 extra for the privilege of living in the worst area in the worst part of the best area. That's all. So I think demographics are actually 3.8. They're okay, but they're not great.
Yeah.
So okay, so capital growth, I'm not optimistic about this. I think it's a 3.7. I just think this area is kind of topped out a little bit, and so I'll go back to my thinking about this. My thesis is that the expensive area is kind of topped out a bit, and this being the worst.
Yeah, the yield is around 3.8, not the best.
Yeah, if I was spending that kind of money, I'd be spending it in Swindon or one of these places down here, which are really hot, and go for more spec.
But those locations also have really hot capital growth, so.
Are you saying hot like you are hot? Because you look like you're sweating a bit.
I mean, hot, the Swinton, for example, is too much capital growth right now, and I think it will drop. I think my connection or your connection is bad, so I'm dropping.
Yeah, something. I'm working off a phone right now for phone internet. But anyway, renovation costs, well, in theory, it's 0, or it could be £30,000. Well, not quite 30. A new roof, £8,000. But I don't think it needs a new roof yet. A new boiler, £2,500 minimum. New electrics,
4,000.
2,000. Yeah, plus all the plastering and all of that disruption and just mess. It's, yeah, I'd say 5,000. So in theory, your renovation could be £9,000 on this property. Just saying, as a risk. So let's just call it £9,000 to cover risk. What's the rent?
1,150, let's say, or 120.
1150.
No, it will be 1,200. It will be. I think, yeah, it must be, because you have property sell renting for 150 around, but this is like the best, not the best area around. So yeah.
Well, that gives you yield of gross rentable, theoretic gross rentable of 5.26, which is borderline acceptable if you get cheap enough money. But have you got the money to the low enough interest rates? So, okay, so let's just talk about the yield. What's the yield then?
Yield is around 3.5, the score.
Yeah, it's not really strong enough, is it? So that's a low score from us. So 15 out of 100. As you see, we've done 85 of these assessments now, so we're getting some good totals here. I think the merits are it's nice, but the issue with this property, I would say, is it suffers from the idea that you buy the worst property in the best area. I've done quite a lot of correlation analysis on this, and it's not, capital growth does not, you just at the top end of the market, there is not that much growth really. But people think that rich people are but what happens is these areas kind of get overbought. They top out on affordability, and there's a problem. And people who are like becoming better off, young professionals, etc., they're not really buying in these areas just because it's just quite unaffordable. So I need to check one more stat before I give my final conclusion on this. And my stat, by the way, is just turnover, how many properties are being sold. It's quite a busy market locally.
Yeah, it's really busy there.
There's quite a lot of turnover, actually.
Yeah, I want to say these properties, this area is not the best for investing. It's better for living. This is like one of the,
exactly.
Here near like the airport. I mean Trafford, Sale, Stratford. So all this area like are really like good for living, but not the best for investing. So
yes. So there you have it. That the scores. Well, I think arguably, I think Martin and I are looking at this kind of slightly differently. He's more pro the area than me, but overall the scores reflect both of our feelings. Weirdly, like I'm just a bit down on this one because the condition, because the issue with the the worst house best area. Martin might not agree with me so much, but why are you a bit down on this one?
But I think the capital growth will be higher here. Because
do you really? I don't feel that.
Yeah, because I know a person who purchased around, and it was not the bad, and he purchased it for 220, I think, and now it's worth 260, 270. That was 1 year and a half. Yeah, but when you think maybe it's better to sink the money in like 2 deals of 150. Then one property is on to 300.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the yield then. So arguably you could, but the other issue is that once you start creeping above 250, the numbers start to get a bit stretched.
Yeah.
Simply because and just at this price point, it starts to get a bit sketchy, I would say. It's just a little bit on the thin side. And you're kind of relying on some quite heavy money people wanting to live in a place like that, which is slightly compromised. And if it was me, and if I was renting, and if I was under some financial duress because, whatever the economic downturn, I just, that would not be my choice of a place to live. I'd rather live just somewhere quieter, more modest, and just down trade a little bit. Because it's just socially unacceptable and be like, it's okay. But that place, you just feel like the poor neighbor, which isn't a really good place to be. That's all. Anyway, there it is. All right. Well, thank you very much. And
let us know what you want to do next with this deal. But as you see, we are not really positive. but maybe you have
Yes.
different opinions, so please let us know.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.